In the heart of British Columbia's forest, two seasoned hunters, Jack and Ethan, embarked on a journey into the enigmatic depths of the wilderness. Jack and Ethan started their hike through the woods 4 hours before sunrise, in the hopes that they could make it to a secret hunting spot deep in the woods. Even though they were warned about the tales of the Kushtaka, it didn't seem to faze their plans. The air was thick with the heavy scent of pine. As the hunters forged ahead, their boots crunching on the carpet of fallen leaves, the moon, a pale disk in the night sky, cast an eerie glow, painting the forest in shades of silver and obsidian. The legends of the Kushtaka seemed like mere campfire stories, whispers that danced on the edge of their consciousness, until the night they decided to venture 5 miles into the heart of the woodland, where ancient secrets slumbered. As they progressed, the forest embraced them in an almost tangible stillness. The usual symphony of nocturnal sounds, the hoots of owls, the distant howls of wolves, was replaced by an unsettling silence. The hunters exchanged glances, their senses heightened by an unspoken awareness that the realm they were entering was beyond the ordinary. The familiar scent of pine, their constant companion, began to shift. A subtle sweetness, like the fragrance of wildflowers, intermingled with the cool mountain air. It was an unfamiliar, enchanting aroma that seemed to beckon them deeper into the heart of the forest. Unperturbed, the hunters pressed on, the allure of the unknown drawing them like a siren's call. The moonlight struggled to penetrate the dense canopy overhead as the hunters crossed the 5-mile threshold. The forest, once a realm of predictable tranquility, became increasingly ominous. The shadows cast by the ancient trees seemed to twist and elongate, creating an eerie dance that played tricks on the hunters' perceptions. As the forest unfolded its secrets, an inexplicable tension settled over the air. The hunters, ever attuned to the subtle shifts in nature, felt the weight of an unseen gaze upon them. The moonlight now filtered through an intricate network of branches, painted a mosaic of light and shadow that danced on the forest floor. It was then, in the hushed embrace of the woodland, that they heard it. A woman's voice, haunting and distant, carried by the soft rustling of leaves. The cry echoed through the trees, a poignant plea for help that reverberated in the stillness. Jack, his weathered features etched with concern, recognized the sound for what it might be, the beguiling mimicry of the Kushtaka. Ethan, the younger and more impulsive of the two, couldn't dismiss the possibility that someone might genuinely be in need. Ignoring Jack's cautionary glance, he insisted they follow the ethereal cries, convinced that their skills as hunters could offer assistance to a fellow traveler in distress. As they ventured deeper into the heart of the forest, the sweet scent in the air became almost intoxicating. The hunters, undeterred by the supernatural tension that surrounded them, pressed on through the ancient woodland. The moon cast elongated shadows that seemed to whisper ancient tales, and the temperature dropped, creating an unseasonable chill in the air. In the quietude of the night, the forest seemed to come alive with a malevolent energy. The shadows played tricks on their eyes, and the moonlight flickered like a distant lantern in a sea of darkness. The hunters, now fully immersed in the realm of uncertainty, questioned the true nature of the folklore that had led them to this haunting threshold. As they approached a small clearing, bathed in the silvery glow of the moon, the cries intensified. A figure materialized from the mist, a woman, her form obscured by tangled hair and torn clothing, a haunting echo of a forgotten struggle. Her voice trembled with fear as she begged for help, her distress palpable in the stillness of the forest. Ethan, compassion overriding his initial skepticism, took a hesitant step forward. Jack, however, his instincts forged by years of navigating the wilderness, seized Ethan's arm with a fierce urgency. The woman's cries shifted from desperation to an unsettling laughter, and the once serene clearing seemed to warp and twist, distorting the fabric of reality. The air became frigid, and an unseen force gripped the hunters, pulling them in opposite directions. The moonlight dimmed as if the very essence of the forest recoiled from the malevolence that unfolded. The apparition, once a pitiable figure, contorted into a grotesque form, its eyes gleaming with an otherworldly malevolence. In a desperate bid to break free from the supernatural force that bound them, Jack began to chant, an ancient, protective incantation passed down through generations of hunters. The forest responded with a deafening silence, the oppressive energy lifting, and the illusory figure vanished, leaving the hunters bewildered and alone in the clearing. Exhausted and shaken, Jack and Ethan retraced their steps, the forest seemingly releasing its grip on them. The deceptive beauty of the British Columbia woods now revealed its true nature. A realm where the line between reality and illusion blurred, and ancient spirits played tricks on those who dared to venture too deep. But the forest had no intention of letting them escape unscathed. As they retraced their steps, the shadows seemed to close in around them, and the air grew thick with an unspoken malevolence. The moon, once a guide through the night, now hung low in the sky, casting elongated shadows that seemed to reach out like spectral fingers. Unbeknownst to the hunters, they had crossed a threshold into a realm where the laws of the living no longer applied. The cries of the Kushtaka, now more distorted and malevolent, echoed through the trees. The forest itself seemed to pulse with an eerie energy, as if the very earth beneath their feet conspired against them. With every step, the air became more oppressive, and the shadows more tangible. The hunters, their senses dulled by exhaustion and the relentless assault on their perception, stumbled blindly through the ancient woodland. The sweet scent of pine turned acrid, a foreboding sign that the forest itself had become their adversary. In the darkness, Jack and Ethan could no longer discern reality from illusion. The once familiar landscape twisted and contorted, a macabre dance orchestrated by the malevolent forces that held them captive. Their cries for escape were swallowed by the oppressive silence, and the moon, now a mere sliver in the night sky, offered no solace. As the hunters ventured further into the heart of the haunted forest, the boundary between the living and the supernatural blurred. The shadows, once benign, now reached out with spectral tendrils, ensnaring the unwitting trespassers. The cries of the Kushtaka, once distant whispers, now reverberated through the very core of their beings. Exhausted and disoriented, the hunters found themselves standing at the edge of a foreboding lake, its waters reflecting the twisted silhouettes of the ancient trees. The air, thick with an otherworldly energy, seemed to pulse with a malevolent heartbeat. The moon, now shrouded in an ominous haze, cast a sickly glow on the desolate scene. In the haunting stillness, the Kushtaka revealed itself. A figure, neither fully human nor entirely spectral, emerged from the shadows. Its eyes gleamed with an ancient malevolence, and its form seemed to shift and contort with each passing moment. The cries, now a cacophony of distorted voices, surrounded Jack and Ethan like a sinister chorus. Realization dawned upon the hunters. They had become ensnared in the web of the Kushtaka's illusion, and the forest, once a sanctuary, had become their eternal prison. The apparition, now a manifestation of the ancient spirits that lurked within the woodland, extended its fingertips piercing down into their skin, drawing them closer to the water's edge. As the hunters frantically tried to fight against Kushtaka on the edge of the lake, it laughed as Jack and Ethan dug their raw fingertips down into the mud trying to claw themselves away from the water's edge. The waters, once serene, now seemed to churn with an unseen malevolence. With a sudden, swift motion, the spectral figure lunged forward at the hunters. With their strength depleted, both Jack and Ethan succumbed to the force of the Kushtaka that gripped them. The lake, now a portal between the living and the afterlife, claimed its victims. Jack and Ethan's bodies floated away motionless. Their struggles futile against the ancient magic that bound them had slowly sunk. The moon, obscured by an otherworldly shadow, bore witness to their final moments as the forest embraced them. The cries of the Kushtaka faded into the night, and the ancient woodland resumed its eerie stillness. The scent of pine, once a comforting aroma, now hung heavy in the air, tainted by the lingering presence of death. The legends of the haunted forest persisted. Jack and Ethan, now eternally entwined with the ancient spirits, became part of the folklore, a cautionary tale for those who dared to tread too far into the heart of the wilderness. The cursed lake, reflecting the twisted silhouettes of the ancient trees, stood as a solemn monument to the hunters who had vanished into the supernatural abyss. The Kushtaka, having claimed its prey, retreated into the shadows, its laughter lingering in the haunted air. The British Columbia forest, with its secrets concealed within the ancient trees and the cursed waters, awaited the next curious souls who would inevitably be drawn into its malevolent embrace. Thanks for listening to GreenGo Stories. GreenGo Out.